Hi sweeties, how are you doing? Welcome to Naya Sim. If this is your first time of coming across this channel, sweetheart, kindly smash the subscribe button, turn on the notification so you get notified each time I upload, and please give this video a thumb up. I appreciate you all so much, and I want to say a very big thank you to every one of you for always coming back, supporting me, and always coming through. You all are super awesome. So today we'll be checking out something, and it's actually about an Asian woman spilling, the real facts to black people. Why? Because she was asked a question, and she was asked, can you please tell me why Asian people hate black people so much? You know what? Stay glued to the screen. Do not click away. Let's hear all she got to, let her spill the whole tea to black people. And let me roll the clip. We'll come back to talk about it. And do not forget to let me know what you all think in the comment section. So straight up, sweethearts, let's get into this video. Let me roll the clip.
Please be patient with me because there's so much here. I think the quick answer is that Asian Americans are given white privilege, especially the Asian Americans who fit the model minority stereotype. The quid pro quo for receiving that privilege is upholding white supremacy culture, which means being anti-Black. I was talking with somebody last night who was pointing out that the Civil Rights Amendment was passed in 1964. But also in the 1960s, the United States opened the door to Asian immigration. So now you have an influx of racial minorities who knew nothing about the history of white violence against Black people, knew nothing about the Black civil rights movement. So they arrived with civil rights, not understanding how that came to be. And also, it effectively erased the United States' own anti-Asian history, because Asian Americans came in not necessarily knowing about the Chinese Exclusion Act or the internment of Japanese Americans in the United States during World War II. And I think that Asian Americans are used as a buffer between the Black community and the white community, because in the 1960s, there was almost a racial reckoning. The white power structure almost had to face accountability for the history of violence against Black people. But instead, Asian Americans were inserted and were pit against each other, so that we're always up against each other, and that basically, like, white supremacy escapes accountability. And the example that I think of that sort of started like the root of a lot of tension is Asian Americans were buying into the negative media stereotypes of Black people. And then in the events that led up to what became known as the LA riots, the LAPD kettled protests away from wealthy white neighborhoods and into Koreatown, and then they left. And we know how that played out. So again, the two communities being pitted against each other, and away from the white power structure. And obviously the model minority myth is used to oppress the Black community. And there's so much here. I will be getting more into it, but I feel like that's the quickest answer that I can give that gets a little bit into the history. And I'm really curious to know what the Black community and Asian Americans feel about this. But please be patient with me. Thank you.
All right, so I was able to get stitches. Oh, then before I get into the stitches, I remember something that happened sometime. It was an Asian woman calling cops for a Black man because she felt threatened by the man's presence. And I was like, what is going on? I mean, okay, there was something that I wanted to say, but then let me just keep it here. I was like, what is going on? How is she being threatened? Like, because she saw a Black person. I mean, she started crying and was calling the cops that, oh, she is okay. You know what? Like I said before, I was able to gather up stitches. I mean, great stitches. And you know what? Stay close to the screen. Let me roll the stitches, and then we'll come back to talk about it. I also want to read your comment. Let's get into the stitches.
The quid pro quo for receiving that privilege is upholding white supremacy culture.
No, because let's really talk about it. My name is I study global studies with a focus on the African diaspora, and I'm in my senior year. Let's go. And last year I had a class where my professor said that if America is a melting pot, then Black people are the pot. I don't remember if this was his original quote or if he was quoting someone else. I had him in 2 classes in 1 semester, so I don't remember. It very well could have been James Baldwin because I had him for a James Baldwin class. Speaking of James Baldwin, check out On Whiteness and Other Lies by James Baldwin because he goes way more in depth into what I'm about to say, and it's freaking amazing. I almost cursed. It's amazing. But my point is that when we look at the history of the US, these different groups, like these different European groups, Italians, Germans, Irish people, etc., they were not all under one united umbrella called whiteness. Whiteness did not exist until white people felt the need to separate themselves from Black people and indigenous people and brown people while they were colonizing and genociding, etc. Italians were just calling themselves Italians. French people were just calling themselves French people, etc. But in order to successfully colonize people and do all these different things, you need to present as a united front. And that is literally how whiteness was created. That being said, as we know, the Irish and the Italians specifically, for example, were not considered white off rip with a lot of the other European ethnic groups and descendants of those ethnic groups. And you know how they acquired their status as white? Through attending minstrel shows, as one main example. You can look this up. The main way for an ethnic group to obtain whiteness in this country is to put down Black people. And a big way was through minstrel shows, but that's not the only way. So if the way to obtain whiteness or anything in proximity to whiteness is to put down Black people and Blackness, then what does that mean for Black people? That means that the Irish and the Italians, and to a certain extent, certain Asian communities are able to access whiteness and byproducts of white, what's the word? As students in my class love to say, juxtaposition to whiteness, or just any proximity to whiteness is what I'm trying to say. Oh my God, it's 4 a.m. Y'all bear with me. And of course that means that Black people in this country could never access that kind of privilege in the same way. Obviously, there's Black billionaires, we can go on about that. But in terms of systemically being considered white, that cannot happen to Black people in this country. And child, that's okay. I have no interest in being anything other than Black. Thank you. I just wanted to expand on what this content creator was saying. Shout out this creator for making this video. And to just make the point that any group in this country who has any sort of juxtaposition to whiteness has gotten there by way of pushing down Black people. And there are other ways as well, but that is a necessary prerequisite, historically speaking, and contemporarily too. Anyway, Black and Asian unity, let's go!
Quick answer is that Asian Americans are given white privilege.
Y'all gotta excuse me if I sound bad or if I'm dragging my words and shit. I really ain't feeling too good right now. But yeah, this is why I didn't support Stop Asian Hate. I didn't support that movement, and I still don't support that movement. Well, how can you say that when you've been discriminated against and racially profiled? Simple. They don't care about that. They don't care about that. When it comes down to us being racially profiled and discriminated against, they tend to say things like, "We cause it upon ourselves." And I remember as a kid, people telling me that if you go to China, they look at Black people like they dirty. They think the darkness of your skin is dirt. You know what I'm saying? Like you just a nasty individual. Don't know how true that is, but it always rubbed me the wrong way. And just having experiences in these Chinese hair stores or Asian hair stores and Asian food places and buffets, like they treat you like shit. They
Really curious to know what the Black community and Asian Americans feel about this.
Hi, Black girl here, and I wanted to say that I grew up having Asian friends, and I have a lot of Asian friends, and they are some of the kindest, sweetest people I've ever met in my entire life. I felt like I needed to say that because I don't want people's hearts to harden amongst one another, especially from what the things that they see on social media. So I wanted to come on here and share my personal experience. There are a lot of Asian businesses in the Black community. A lot of our corner stores are Asian owned. A lot of the pure beauty supply stores that we get like our weave from are Asian owned, and the nail salons and stuff are Asian owned. And so I feel like our community is intertwined a lot. I shop at a lot of Asian-owned businesses, and majority of my experiences have been very pleasant. I've definitely had those moments in certain times in my life where I was followed in stores, but I've always chucked it up with that person being weird and not like the whole community. And the model minority thing does hurt the black community, and that is something that I'm really glad that a lot of people are starting to realize and starting to talk about. I've definitely had moments at work where I saw some racist shit go down, and then I look over to my Asian friend like, oh my god, and they're just like, and that always kind of like made me feel awkward and weird, like. But I also feel like black people here in the US are so traumatized by the racism here, and that I find that I tend to overthink a lot of things. So sometimes my Asian friends do kind of bring me back to earth and help me think more rationally, and that does help a lot sometimes. I really do hope that both of our communities get their shit together and understand the beauty of each other, because I'm really tired of this back and forth. Asian people are so incredible and their cultures are amazing. And I did recently a 23andMe, and I got a lot of African countries, and then I got a small percentage of Asian countries. And when I started to really look into their history and seeing like both of the cultures, I realized there was a lot of similarity in both African and Asian cultures. So we are so much similar. We are so similar,
Alright,
and
this
you
is
guys
all we
need to
got from
realize
Miss
that.
Tishies, and yeah, I actually do have Asian friends. They are nice, and I really hope, like, they sort themselves out and all that. I hope they will be kinder to black people. This is all I got to say, and this is all the stitches with God, and I absolutely want to read from you. Let me know what you all think, and thank you all so much for all the support, and see you all in my next video. Bye for now.